Good thinking. I hope they can't see me here.
To get into the headmaster's office upstairs, we will need his PIN code. I don't have it in my files, but we can recover it. We'll need to answer some security questions first.
False prophet infiltrates Metamorphosis. Masquerading as Prizrak, man brings toxic agenda to our perfect garden. The man's name is Zager, I believe. Daniel Marcus Zager. Apparently he was some kind of journalist on the outside. If the Overseer was smart, he'd label this as an act of supreme jealousy. After all, ours is a nation so wonderful that people risk death to sneak inside. Maybe we should take the initiative and lead with this angle.
I hope they can't see me here.
Prizrak, check.
The first draft rumbled from my mind and shook the page like a 9.0 earthquake. The pen was merely the needle on the seismograph, recording the shockwaves.
I'll be taking this. This hiding place looks good. I hope they can't see me here.
No sign of the pre-cal.
We go with the idea that you have to answer it, or like the children have to answer this in order to come see him. Right. It makes sense for this to be the stairway to heaven, right, which goes up to his office.
Correct.
If it's going to be to the pyramid room, then it would be more like a password recovery.
Yeah, see, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, one thing that kind of bothers me about the quiz about the Overseer is that Hope would know all those answers because she probably knows all that. She's been trained and taught all those kinds of things. Oh, I don't want to overthink it, but don't you think that's kind of weird? Like, she's been through that museum before, right? We have to assume.
Yeah, but maybe it's not just like super obvious stuff. Maybe there's more details about certain things that's why, like, originally when I thought it was POI, I thought like you were scanning like important like details about these objects that weren't necessarily like, if there's speaker boxes in the museum, then yeah, it's a little more like, okay, everyone should know these. But if there's scannable POI, then it's something that like Hope might not know. It's something like only you might be privy to because you're like hacking it or scanning it.
But then it goes more towards a security thing and not something that children would know to answer this question to go see him.
Yeah,
I think we could potentially put a POI in there that's like, you know, we've updated it to be more difficult. There are too many people like harassing the overseer or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing that has some other facts, and we could even have Hope say something where it's like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, or something like that.
But the museum is based around the writing of the manifesto, the first edition, right?
Yeah.
But his security questions wouldn't be exactly based on the manifesto and all the questions. It's more about him as a person, but you're gleaning this personal information based on this museum about him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe he can like talk about in one of like the pushies. Like, I remember like as I was going through the hills of blah 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 in whatever country, like I remember like writing this chapter of whatever, and one of the questions can be like, where was chapter 2 of the manifesto written or something. Like,
Okay. I mean, I think it's like the high level vision. At least what I'm understanding is, I think for players to understand what we're trying to do thematically is like a lot of this hacking and security and like identity theft and all that kind of stuff. Is that I think we should be thinking about more general questions that you can glean. The whole thing is like, how do people hack Sarah Palin's email address, right?
Okay. All right, that's
So,
fine.
but are you okay with that?
I mean, I'm fine. Yeah, I guess I didn't.
Social engineering.
That wasn't really clicking with me.
How about what's your
throughout
favorite
this.
food? We can tie it into the food that he didn't like that they kept giving him.
Yeah, you keep saying, I wish it was a blah blah blah, right? That's a great idea.
Can we make the pin code that we end up getting from this also be 1, 2, 3, 4? That's the pin code that we've got for getting out of the interrogation room.
Alright, I want to put that as a side note.
Or 8, 0,
I do want to do the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they're like I'm not sure about the interrogation because I think people would laugh, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I want them to laugh in a good way because there was an article about how government agencies oftentimes like their passwords and like really sensitive things where ABC 1, 2, 3 was the highest, like most popular one, and like 1, 2, 3, 4 was like.
So maybe the headmasters is just 1, 2, 3, 1 interrogation room, something actually like intelligent.
Somewhat, yeah.
NTR.
What was meant as a warning to Prizrak to be on the lookout for hiding precals is actually a good suggestion for the girl. Ducking behind the plant is a great way to escape detection.
Thanks. You found me a good spot. P0 here. They won't find me in here. Nothing. I should be safe here.
This is a battery charging station. Remind the girl to walk slowly. Hurried footsteps will attract the attention of the Prizrak.
Welcome to my domain. See anything you like. Sorry to see you go.
P0 here. They won't find me in here. Let's see what's inside the box.
Reporting.
Headmaster, over here.
If it isn't my favorite journalist from the Morning Bell.
It was a brilliant speech, Headmaster.
Why, thank you, Miss Sade.
Please, call me Maddie. Perhaps you could tell your citizens a bit more about the arrival. As much as you can state publicly, of course.
Of course, well, in a matter of weeks, we will take our bow on the global stage. The arrival is our world debut, and once it comes to pass, there will be little doubt that though we are a small nation and few in number, we are a force to be reckoned with.
I'm sorry, I had a follow-up, but I just got lost in the power of your voice.
Why, Maddie, please, you embarrass me.
Now, where was I? Oh, right. Your cryptic answers, which I adore, I must add.
Thank you.
But they've left some to speculate that the arrival refers to our ascension as a nuclear power.
Ah, nuclear power. In the 21st century, nuclear power is a contradiction in terms. Let those dying republics split atoms to their heart's content. No, my dear Maddie, what our Republique achieved is something far more impressive. And the mark we leave on the world will last an eternity. Tripped over every pesky regulation in my adopted Japan, I decided to advance my study of genetics in America, and I couldn't have arrived at a more auspicious time in history. Within a year, they had put a man on the moon.
You found me a good spot.
If freedom of movement is one of the fundamental rights of man, then a prison trade, such as this was, provided an ingenious loophole for my scheming captors. They slapped a fresh coat of paint on its rotting sides, and even went so far as to give it a rugged and exciting-sounding name, the Siberian Express.
Good thinking. I hope they can't see me here.
A PIN code is required to. May I suggest gleaning some personal information about him in his museum next door? It might come in handy when answering any security questions.
A Zager cassette.
And though I was born into a world already in progress, with its arcane laws and perverse morality, with a washwoman for a mother and a question mark for a father, I knew that one day I would retire to a country of my own design, free from societal restraint.
You picked a good place. I hope they can't see me here.
To get into the headmaster's office upstairs, we will need his PIN code. I don't have it in my files, but we can recover it. We'll need to answer some security questions first. If you find a cassette player, perhaps you could hear what is on it. I remember seeing an old boombox when we ransacked one of Zager's hideouts. They call Super Hexagon a Twitch game. I doubt even Doc Holliday had quick enough reflexes for this one.
Japan had the sense to... One of the great terrors of literature is its ability to touch a reader's unspoken experience. But you understand, librarian, a Republique requires peace between its citizens. Animal Farm gives voice to big...
Threat level.
I delivered it personally to a small publishing house in the capital of France. A minor company I acquired and resurrected to suit my needs. I even went so far as to live in the rickety old apartment above the offices to personally oversee the publishing process.
Hello, librarian. Good evening, Overseer. Around the precals, I must insist you address me as headmaster.
Oh, my apologies, sir.
What did you think of my lecture? You may speak freely.
Well, you most certainly have a passion for what you teach. It was most inspiring.
Your eyes and your words don't seem to align. Now, I asked that you speak freely. It's okay. No harm in speaking your mind to me. I will respect your honesty. In fact, I demand nothing less.
Well then, sir, to be blunt, it felt more like a sermon than a lecture tonight.
Do you take issue with that? Again, speak freely.
Well, sir, I have never been a part of an academy quite like this one. The precals, well, they seem to study only one subject here.
What subject is that?
Well, sir, you.
Heading to the vent. We need a screwdriver to open this vent. Look, pepper spray.
Everything looks good. What do you got?